our prejudices, if you learn to use it, then this will clearly tell us what is what, because this is the most competent machine that's out here.
Yes, and yet I'm trying to imagine a world where we would all be Sadhgurus, right? Imagine…
You're talking about a very competitive world for me.
It's your word. So I chose at one point in my life not to become neither a priest or a guru or a philosopher, but a scientist, and then to use that as a medical doctor. And I'm still happy with that choice, because I do think, and I believe you will agree, that the scientific knowledge and the technology and modern medicine has really incredibly improved our quality of life and our life expectancy, and that's very important to appreciate. So I'm very happy that there are these scientists and that we have the technological advances, but at the same time I think we should try to find some and reconnect to the spirituality or the pure experience, as you say. Would you agree with that, that it's this kind of balance?
See, it is like this, if you take a motorcycle mechanic, he's very good with the motorcycles, let's say. But now you ask him to fix a computer, well, he can use his screwdriver and open the cover. Beyond that, he doesn't know a thing about it, all right? This is just like this. Objective sciences are like this. It is always 1 + 1 is 2. That's the only way objectivity can work. You cannot say 1 + 1 is 11 also, forget about a million, all right? You cannot say that, because this is the nature of objectivity. And our objectivity is coming from our intellectual process. Intellectual process, as again I said already, it's coming from memory. So memory cannot be fudged. If you fudge the memory, it's a mess. I remember this is 1 and this is 1. And now I put these two things together and say this is 2. Now this has a memory basis. If I fudge this, then my intellect becomes useless, all right? So intellect is handling one aspect of our life, which essentially we call it as self-preservation. For our self-preservation, our intellect is vital. Without it, we cannot function. Right now, all the things that you said, it has improved our life expectancy, it enhanced our life in so many ways. No, it has not enhanced the quality of our life at all. It has only enhanced the comfort and convenience levels in the world, and definitely life expectancy. All this is definitely self-preservation, isn't it? It's survival process. So when it comes to self-preservation, our intellect is vital. Without this one functioning, you cannot survive in this world. All the 5 senses are functioning, they are feeding the data into your intellect, and from there you're using it. How efficiently you use it will determine how efficiently you survive. So your life expectancy enhanced means your efficiency of survival has increased, that's all it is. So you are more healthy than what people were in the past, I don't think so, but suppose we are, it simply means your survival process is little more efficient. So, leaving the survival process, now you're talking about consciousness. Consciousness means… see, the English word consciousness is very loosely used. If you say somebody is in anesthesia, if they come back, you say, oh, he's come back to his consciousness. No, he's conscious because there are no alternate words, we use the same words. Language is a different aspect. Language is also a product of our intellect, so it can only talk in opposites. Without polarities, there is no language. Without polarities, your intellect cannot function. But when you talk about consciousness, you are not talking about two polarities. There is no A consciousness and B consciousness. There is no positive consciousness and negative consciousness, there's just one. So, what doesn't have a polarity cannot be dissected with your intellect. Intellect is a sharp instrument, it can only dissect, it cannot absorb something. See, if you are using your intellect upon something, if you ask any human being, do you want your intellect sharp or blunt? They will say, I want it sharp. Why? Because it's a cutting instrument. If your cutting instrument, if your knife is not sharp, what is the use of such a knife? So now you want to stitch your clothes, but you try to stitch that also with your knife, then all you have is tatters. That is showing almost everybody is wearing tatters around the world today. You see everybody's pants are torn. I don't know, you are… I'm not seeing the whole of you.
That's very good.
Wearing… if you are blue denims, it'll be torn. So, you're using your intellect to handle a subjective dimension of life. That's never going to happen. Simply because you're using a telescope to look at the virus, it's not going to work.
Okay.
Stephen, while you're here thinking about it, I thought I'll bring in a relevant point because you have remarked in some of your lectures that we made a historical mistake by calling consciousness as a binary term, right? Yes or no. And then with your experiments and also your attempts to recover patients in coma, with the instruments that you've had, now you've recorded at least 4 or 5 distinct states of consciousness, or wakefulness, you want to call that. The Sadhguru is saying consciousness is one. There is no polarity to it. So how do you reconcile these? So again, the term comes back to consciousness term, just call it wakefulness or whatever. You are in all these guideline committees. You're like the president of many of these committees. Can we even change that as just wakefulness and leave it at that? Because you're so…
So thank you for that question, Bala. We are definitely struggling, and I think we have no definition of consciousness that we all agree upon. What we try to work on are somehow practical measures that, well, you and I as clinicians, when we say the patient is unconscious, what do we mean? What is the language we speak? And we will there reduce this complexity to, first of all, wakefulness, the first dimension, and that's what you see and what we all experience when we fall asleep. When you make them fall asleep during anesthesia, they somehow seem to lose awareness of their environment and then their self. During sleep, there is already this notorious exception when we dream, and I think that's fascinating. And there's lucid dreaming and illustrating the challenge for us as observers, saying meaningful things about awareness in another person. And then these patients, as you say, in coma, who can no longer be awakened, and that's simply looked at from the outside as looking at eye-opening. They will never open the eyes even when we stimulate them, and then observing their behavior, which is then reduced to reflexes. But it's true that when you think about it, it's frustrating, and that is exactly why I started this research, because I was not satisfied with how, as a clinician, I could say meaningful things about consciousness, the mind, subjectivity, while the only thing I'm doing at the bedside is making inferences based on some motor activity, and the absence of proof is there not always proof of the absence. So to me it seemed a historical error that we had this black and white view that the patients we see with severe brain damage were or conscious or not, and now we see all these more nuanced states, like you can be more or less awake, you can be more or less awake, and we describe these very strange conditions where patients survive, eyes open but completely unaware, that we called vegetative state. We now call them unresponsive wakefulness, and then some of these are minimally conscious, which again is very frustrating because you can't communicate with them, but you know that sometimes they have, very probably, when we look with these brain imaging techniques, functioning brain, and hence a functioning mind that can perceive emotions, including pain. And so I'm trying to be a little bit more precise about what we consider as awareness of the environment, of the self, and how we can link it to brain networks, which is what we try to do with this global neuronal workspace in the front and the back, and trying to capture it by all possible means to help clinicians reduce the uncertainty and have prognostic value. But it's still a tremendous challenge to go from there, and they're still, I think, descriptive, and they have a big practical value, but I am not satisfied in terms of the explanatory power, because they're truly to explain how we're having this wonderful discussion. And I'm thinking that I know for sure some things in my mind now, but how this happens to me is still a big challenge. And as you know, we also listened to patients who had a coma, and we thought they were fully unconscious, but afterwards they tell us they had these wonderful experiences called near-death experiences. Very, very intense, very, very positive, often, but not always, seeing themselves from the outside, this notion of light, and for some this is proof of life after death. I think it's a challenge because death is still a big, big barrier for science to study, but all of that somehow makes me more humble and look at everything with a little bit more of the amazement from, well, despite all my theoretical knowledge, I'm not able to explain this. And will we ever? Well, there to me, it seems very interesting that the scientific community links to this community of what I would call the athletes of the mind, right? And that's also why I myself try to do meditation, so that I maybe can experience this a little bit better. And maybe we can compare it, Bala and Sadhguru, to my initial area of research was sleep and dreaming. And I dream a lot. And then to me it's easier to connect. But my supervisor at the time very rarely remembered his dreams. And so his approach was very different. And so imagine that I would have no dream, never. How could I, even with the best possible theoretical knowledge, understand dreams? It's, I think, important that we have the experience and the memory, as Sadhguru said, to really get to an understanding. Or imagine I would be a scientist looking at color vision, but me myself would only see in black and white. So even the most perfect understanding of color from a theoretical perspective in this colorblind scientist, wouldn't it be different the day I would truly see in color? So that's the kind of frustration I have when talking with big experts who have, I don't know how many 10,000s of hours of meditation, and I know you're a very expert meditation yourself, and I'm just this little athlete, right? Trying to understand what you mean when you're talking about all these different states and nuances. And so you're right, I see consciousness not even less black or white or on this gray scale, but rather all the colors of the rainbow. And it's so multidimensional that it's very difficult for us to collapse it, to reduce it, and to grasp the holiness of the experience.
If I can say something, can I?
Sure, sir, please.
See, Stephen, as we sit here, this is my body, that is your body, distinctly established. Right now, it is 100% like this. I don't know what you're drinking, I can't see, but whatever you're drinking, what's in the cup is not you. The moment you drink it, after some time it becomes you. This is happening right now. So, though what you think is your body and what I think is my body is just a piece of this planet, right now it is distinctly clear, this is my body, that is your body, 100%. This is my mind and that is your mind, these are my emotions and those are your emotions, these are my experiences, those are your experiences. But there is no such thing as my consciousness and your consciousness. This is a living consciousness. We blew our own bubble. I'm sure you have that little wonderful boy who came on the screen, I'm sure he's blowing soap bubbles at you sometime. So, if you blow a soap bubble, this is my bubble, that's your bubble. poop it went, then there is no such thing as my bubble and your bubble, there is no such thing as my air and your air. Consciousness is just like this. Right now you have blown your bubble, I have blown my bubble. This is me, that is you. But when this goes poop, there is no such thing as my consciousness and your consciousness. It is just that we are holding a certain amount of, if you want to call it as consciousness, I would prefer to call it as life, because the word consciousness, as you are speaking, I'm seeing that even last time when we spoke to all Bala's friends, what I see is wakefulness and consciousness, there is no clear distinction in medical terminology. See, everything that you do with your anesthesia has nothing to do with consciousness. It has something to do with body and various functions of the body. You're shutting down certain aspects of the bodily functions. One of them is transmission of pain, which is the main interest when somebody is going to surgery. You don't want to stop their heart, you don't want to stop their brain, you would like to see the transmission of pain stops. Whatever is being cut, whatever damage or fixing is happening, whatever parts of the body may be being removed, what is not vital may be being pulled out, all that is happening. Only transmission of pain is not happening. This has got nothing to do with losing consciousness and gaining consciousness, there's no such thing. So we're using the word wakefulness and consciousness in a little different way. And not only that, especially not just in medical terminology, generally in English language, there is no distinction between somebody is unconscious and he became conscious and consciousness as a larger possibility. So, my body, my intelligence, my mind, my memory, your memory, my experiences, your experience, all different. But there is no such thing as my consciousness and your consciousness. It is just that it is only the human creature on this planet who has the neurological capability and sophistication of mechanism that if they allow it, they can access this dimension of consciousness. No other creature is really capable of accessing it. This doesn't mean there is no consciousness in them. Without that, the life process wouldn't happen. There is consciousness even where there is no body, all right? Only thing is, you need a certain sophisticated instrument to access that, which is the human mechanism. This is why we consider being human is a great privilege, because you have access to dimensions beyond your physical boundaries. That is the fundamental significance of being human. So, let us not misunderstand the instrument and what we see. If you take a telescope and see, you saw another galaxy, but the galaxy is not produced by the telescope. The galaxy is there. The telescope only gave you an access. Similarly, your body, your brain, whatever, I don't want to identify different things, from your hair to your toes, everything is body as far as I'm concerned, including your brain. It is just another dimension of the body. So this body, if we keep it in a certain way, if we do not contaminate it with too many ideas, philosophies, identities, if you keep it in a certain level of openness, this will become an access point to what we are referring to as consciousness or the basis of the life that we are, in a way. So somebody can call it consciousness, somebody can call it a being, somebody says this is God. Well, we can use as much vocabulary as you want. Essentially, we are trying to put a meaning on something which cannot be defined, which has no meaning. Meaning is a consequence of human psychological process. Psychological process is a consequence of accumulated memory. So you cannot slap one meaning from your mind upon a limitless possibility which is the very basis of our existence. So this is what is the fundamental mistake, that we are trying to take a piece of our psychological process and trying to understand what is consciousness. Consciousness is not something that you can understand. Understand means there must be a meaning. There is no meaning to it, there is no meaning to the existence. It's just a tremendous phenomena, but you can experience it. You have the necessary instruments to experience it, not the instruments in your lab. You as a person, you have the necessary instrument to experience this. Will you allow it or not, is the only question. As I said in the beginning, it all depends on how you're identified. If your identifications are limited, you have lost the ability to experience it. If your identity is, not identified with anything, you kept yourself loose like that, then there is a possibility of experiencing it. A whole lot of people under drug-induced conditions, they are claiming they experience many things. I'm not questioning that at all, it's very much possible, because one thing that I have seen happening to people under the influence of alcohol or drug is, they've lost their sense of identity. What they think they are usually is not there in them, they've become little boundaryless. Because of that, they might have accessed a certain dimension, but will that make them competent to access it whenever they want? No, 100% not. In fact, they may lose their faculties because they forced it upon, chemically forced something to happen, so that may damage the instrument for good, and you may not be able to experience anything beyond a certain point.
Can I ask you two questions?
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned this instrument that permits us to access this, whatever we call it, consciousness, intelligence, but you say it's for humans. So what do you think about animals and how they perceive the world? And then the second question is this terribly challenging one. If you say that somehow, and you make the comparison with the bubble, and that there is no such thing as your consciousness, my consciousness, it could be an illusion. So how do we somehow deal with, well, what was there before you were born and what will there be when you're dead? So these two are still burning questions about animals and the before and after this living.
See, when it comes to animals, an animal is programmed in such a way that largely its life is fixed around its survival process. Let's say, for any creature for that matter, their stomach is full, their life is settled, they just sit there happily. But that's not the nature of the human being. Stomach is empty, only one problem, stomach is full, 100 problems. This is the nature of the human being. Because survival is not the end game for us. Only when survival is taken care of, what is human kicks in. Till then, we are also just one more creature. When we are absolutely hungry and survival is in question, we are like any other creature. Human beings fight like any other creatures when survival is in question. Only when those things are taken care of, other dimensions of being human become a possibility. So survival is not the end game for us, it is the beginning for us. It is the A of life. But for all other creatures, survival is the end game for us. But even among them, certain creatures are far more capable of accessing or at least being sensitive. I wouldn't say accessing, they're little more sensitive to consciousness. Wherever there is consciousness, certain creatures behave in a certain way. In India, in the yogic culture, in the Indian mysticism, everywhere you see there will be a cobra, always. Simply because we have always seen wherever there is a little bit of, access to consciousness, these creatures somehow sense it and they arrive. What makes them sense it? One thing I'm guessing, this is not a certain science for me, I'm just guessing because they're stone deaf. I think they're super alert and in some other sense, they're very, very alert. This is a fact, this has been checked by a few people. See, for example, a cobra in southern India, it has no ears at all, no hearing mechanism, so it has got the whole body to the ground and literally ear to the ground, So, if there is going to be an earthquake in California, which is literally 12 hours away, that means almost on the opposite side of the planet, if there's going to be an earthquake in the next 2 days or 3 days, this cobra will start behaving in a certain way. If you observe it carefully, if you have mastered that observation sufficiently, you can clearly tell that there is going to be an earthquake in approximately this kind of latitude. There are people who can do that. By simply observing the serpent, how it behaves, they say, there is going to be this kind of movement in some part of the planet. So, because any littlest, even the minutest vibrations in the planet, it is able to sense. So because of this, it has a certain awareness or rather sensitivity to certain vibrations. Probably when somebody accesses what we are referring to as consciousness, the other vibrations which are normally everybody's throwing out on a day-to-day basis, their physical stuff, their psychological stuff, probably that becomes minimal. Lack of that reverberation is something that a cobra senses. If you become very meditative, well, it won't happen in Belgium because there are no cobras there, but if you are in India, if you become very meditative, you sit in a forest and become meditative, cobras will gather in front of you. They will come and sit there as if they're waiting for you. This is my personal experience any number of times, and this will be vouched for by any number of yogis in the tradition always, because they're able to sense that lack of vibration in the person. When the vibrations become very minimal or very fine, somehow they're drawn to that. I feel, for a variety of reasons, because in my experience, I don't want to go into the detail now, but in my experience, all venomous creatures, those which create venom in their system, all of them are able to sense this. Probably, you know, I'm just doing guesswork here, it's just guesswork. Some creature generates venom within itself as an evolutionary process, probably because in some way his physical features and things are such that without a deadly venom, he wouldn't have survived. He is constantly threatened. So, because he's feeling so threatened, it's also true in human beings. Those who are feeling always threatened, they will carry a lot of venom within themselves. So looking at human behavior, I'm just guessing, maybe in the evolutionary process, because they don't have limbs, let us say the snakes don't have limbs, they don't have the same capabilities that other creatures have, so they might have developed venom over a period of time, because otherwise they wouldn't have survived, otherwise they wouldn't have got food to eat, everything around them moves faster, but still they manage to hunt and live only because of the venom that they carry. All venomous creatures, I've noticed this with bees, you know, the honeybees, the way they behave around me, many times I've noticed is very strange. In the beginning when it happened, I couldn't believe how these insects seem to be sensing something which nobody else, you know, human beings don't know most of the time, but they're able to see it. I've generally noticed this with all venomous creatures, because to generate that venom, there is some special process going on within them. From what I hear from other scientists and you know, people who are working in the field, they're saying venom is one of the most complex proteins that are produced on the planet, and today for various neurological ailments, the experiments are going on how venom could be a solution in the future, because, you know, in my personal experience, consuming venom has done miracles to me in terms of rejuvenating my body and doing things with myself in so many different ways. If you are… I don't know if you and Bala are not aware of this, there are certain type of yogis who always carry these mountain scorpions which are almost like 9 inches long in a box. Once in a way, they will decide when, they will take a sting from the scorpion, your whole neurological system will jangle, it'll go for 24 hours to 48 hours. It won't let you sleep, it will just keep you up, and between pain and pleasure, there is very little distinction. Once the neurological system gets tangled, you know, like jangled in a certain way, you can make it into pain, you can make it into pleasure consciously. So they will cry, they will laugh, they will cry, they will laugh, they will go through this for whole 24 to 48 hours, because they are using the venom to just shake up the whole neurological system. So having said that, somewhere certain creatures have little more access to these things. They may not have access to consciousness, but where there is access to consciousness, they're able to sense that. In my understanding, or I would rather say my presumption, is that they're able to mark out those creatures or those bodies who are least amount of reverberations in them. Where there is least amount of reverberation is like a little bit of a vacuum for them, so they are drawn towards that, and at the same time they will not harm that, you know, that kind of reverberation, because they feel very passive. Like, I don't know, right now in the video as I was watching it, there is a video where I'm holding a king cobra, not by the head, but in the body. It is not a pet cobra or something. We've just caught it 2-3 days before that is being filmed there. And king cobra, if it bites you, you have 6 to 8 minutes to live, that's it. It has enough venom to kill an elephant, but it will not bite. It all depends, if you show a little anxiety, it'll bite you. If you are just absolutely calm, it will not touch you because it's going by the reverb that you generate. So, having said that, this consciousness as a dimension, let's call it a dimension, let's not call it as an experience of wakefulness and sleep, different levels of wakefulness. Well, even when you're awake, not everybody is awake to the same extent, isn't it? Suppose you're teaching in a university, right? Do you find all the students awake at to the same level?
When I teach, yes, hyper vigilant.
He actually uses that analogy in his lectures.
What?
He goes to a lecture and he uses that analogy where he picks his participants in a lecture and he analyzes and tells them, you're not this much awake and you're this much awake and alert to then his own theory.
So, no two human beings are awake to the same extent. So this whole dimension, if we change the terminology a little bit, probably it will fall into a little better place of understanding, maybe not entirely, but little better. That is, right now when we talk about anesthesia or even coma for that matter, they may be very similar, I don't know medically how you differentiate between the two. Essentially, bodily functions have dropped step by step. In one person, a certain number of functions might have dropped, in another person it might have dropped further. And I would take it further, even what you call as death is just further drop in the bodily functions. So whether it is death, coma, anesthesia, in my understanding and my experience of things, they are not very different. It is just different levels of profoundness of the same thing. When you become completely unawake, that means you're dead. You're little bit awake means you're in coma. You're little more awake means you're under the influence of anesthesia. Little more awake means you just had a drink.
Your experience, but you have not yet died.
Let's not go into that now. We'll go into it some other day because are you in Brussels?
Yes, close to Brussels.
Okay, so unless you serve me French fries, I'm not going to talk all those things to you right now.
I will offer you French fries and Belgian chocolate.
Well, about when you said before being born and after the death process has happened, it is a very complex and sophisticated marketplace. Is a tremendous organization. If every leader, if they spend a little time, you could be on a high of both equanimity and exuberance. It could do wonders to who you are and the work that you're doing. There is much for the leadership to learn from the natural organization of what's happening in the world, especially soil and the life upon it. It's the most complex operation going on. However big your company is, whatever complex operations you may be doing, it's nothing compared to what's happening just beneath your feet in the form of soil. It is a very complex and sophisticated marketplace, 1,000,000 times more complex than any stock market in the world. So leadership has something to learn from nature, particularly from soil and all life around us, because it's an organism is a tremendous organization. We are trying to build organizations in a linear fashion. We have CEOs. In my understanding, a CEO means A completely engaged organism is a CEO. Instead of that, you become an officer, which is a mistake, if you ask me, because the type of management we are trying to do is like manicuring a garden. If you have a manicured garden, well, it looks nice. Not to my eyes though, but it generally looks nice for people who like everything in control. But if you do not manage or maintain your garden for just 30 days or 60 days or maybe 90 days, well, your garden would have just completely disappeared. Here, we are in this forest. How long it's been there, nobody knows or anybody's guess. Let's say 1,000,000 years. 1,000,000 years it's managed itself, because that is the power of organisms, the cyclical nature of organisms, how it manages itself. Everybody is talking about sustainability. You cannot think of sustainability, you can only perceive sustainability from the way the nature's construct is. And above all, if every leader, people who are managing complex situations in life, if they spend a little time, if not on a daily basis, at least on weekends or on vacations, they spend some time connected to the soil, well, we have already told you, the microbiome vaccae, the bacteria present in various aspects of soil, cow dung and in many other places. If you're just in touch with it, if your body or if your feet are on the soil, just by inhalation you can get this microbiome vaccae stimulates a neurobiological response by generating serotonin. That means if you did this in the weekend, during the week, you could be on a high of both equanimity and exuberance. And this is very vital for leaders, because when a leader is in a nasty mood, many people's life will become nasty, and in the end what we create may be a nasty consequence. It's extremely important, people who are in leadership positions, who have the power to determine where other people's lives are going, it's extremely important that they are on a high on life. High not on alcohol, high not on drugs, but high on life itself, because life is the most complex chemistry. If you handle this well by being in touch with the source of life, which here is soil, natural waters, well, it could do wonders to who you are and the work that you're doing and to the world at large. So here I am sitting on a tiny little island which is leaking a bit. No, CEO does not mean you become an island among people. You become an island in the world. Because I keep hearing corporate world, that means you become an island. No, it's not about being an island. Let's give a new description for CEO, completely engaged organism. Or if you like to call yourself an officer, completely engaged officer.
First of all, you must understand what is inside, okay, and what is outside. If you do not understand what is inside and outside, then you will go to all the wrong places. Now, what is inside? Your body, accumulated over a period of time, yes or no? Hello? No? What you accumulate can be yours, cannot be you. Is that much clear? Whatever it may be. What you accumulate can be yours, cannot be you. So this body is an accumulation. What you call as my mind, the whole content of the mind is accumulated depending upon what you're exposed to in your life. So your body is a heap of food, small or big. Your mind is a heap of impressions, again small or big. Between these two heaps, where the hell are you? So, inside, outside, leave these words because when it comes to language, there is only that much leeway. So within that, maybe different people are trying to use it in different ways. We don't know in what context they used. You put everybody into one bundle and say, all of you said this, I don't know who these all people are. Different people employed different methods around them, looking at the people around them, what was best suitable for the people around them, accordingly they would have worked most probably. If they're genuine, they would have worked with the people around them, not with concepts from somewhere. Looking at an individual person, you will do something, what works for that person. What you do with this person may not work for another person, you will have to do something else with that person. But you're talking about a generic inward-outward. So first determine what is inward-outward. Everything is outward right now. The world is outside, body is also external material, all the material in the mind also is external. So what is this inward you're talking about? Then you will immediately say, Atma, Paramatma, soul, this one. Now you're going into belief system. You don't know. You know you have a body, yes? Hello? Yes. Please check your neighbors. You know you have a body. You believe you have a mind. But to some extent you know. But rest is belief. Yes or no?
Yes.
I'm not questioning whether it's true or false, let's not go there at all. But it's belief, it's not yet in your experience. If you talk about something which is not yet in your experience, to put it bluntly, you're just a bloody liar. That's what it means. But because lies are holy, lies are written in scriptures, lies are repeated by all kinds of people who are dressed in different ways which are supposed to be holy though ridiculous. Because of this, you're not supposed to question these words. Anywhere you go, first thing is people say, Sadhguru, what about the soul? I ask them, which soul, right or left? So, let's not talk about something that is not in your experience. Right now your body is in your experience to some extent, your mind is in your experience to some extent, rest you don't know. But we can infer. If I have to accumulate this much body, if I have to accumulate this much mind, something more fundamental must be there. Yes? Something more fundamental must be there. We don't know what the hell it is. For now, we will call it you. How you will go into yourself? I'm asking. You can go into this hall, you can go out of this hall. How will you go into yourself, I'm asking. Let's leave this, this is not the way. You do this way. What is not you, all those things you keep it aside. Before today, before you go to bed, everything that's not you, keep it aside. They may be precious to you. You think about it, your house, is it you? Oh, my house. All right, you have lots of passion about it, but all right, keep it aside. Your husband, is it you? No, that's easy, he's not me. My children, are they me? Oh, little difficulty, but no, they're not me. They're beginning to tell you, if they're 12, they have already told you. So the clothes that you wear, is that you? No. The body that you wear, is that you? No. All these thoughts and emotion, is this you? No. Everything that's not you, keep it in one heap. Not physically, just do this mentally. Keep everything aside. Let me see. Every day you practice this, one day when you successfully keep everything aside that you are not, what you are will be there. We have too many ideas about things that we have not seen. It's a big problem. Shankaran Pillai went to Britannia. Can I? Shankaran Pillai went to Britannia Industries to find a job. So they were looking for a really smart, far-seeing sales manager. So they asked him one question, which is further, Mumbai or moon? Shankaran Pillai thought. He said, Mumbai. He said, what? Mumbai is further than the moon? He said, yes. How? Well, I can see the moon, I can't see Mumbai. So what I'm saying is, if you go by your present perception, you'll get all the wrong conclusions. So don't be in a rush to make conclusions. Let's pay a little more attention. You are a worthwhile life which deserves some attention, isn't it? Don't seek other people's attention. Your own attention, doesn't this life deserve attention? Pay attention to this, enough attention, everything will be clear. Everything about you, you're asking me, if I tell you what you have some more words. Some more words you have, that will not get you anywhere near the truth. One more word or 10 more words doesn't get you any closer to reality, just you'll have more things to say to somebody else. This kind of hearsay is spreading in the world. Everybody knows where God is, who his wife is, how many children he has, when is his birthday, his address. In every bhajan, people are singing his address, where he is and how to get him, but they don't know a damn thing about themselves. This kind of, a very knowledgeable ignorance is dangerous, you know. If you do not know, it's not a problem. If I say I do not know, the possibility of knowing is always there, isn't it? If I do not know and I think I know, then I've destroyed all possibilities. So, we have arrived at many things, we know, in every culture they know what is the nature of God, where he resides, how the ambience is there and the works, you know. Everybody knows the geography of the heaven, isn't it, don't you? But you don't know a damn thing about yourself. It's time we paid attention because everything you know it only the way it's projected in the firmament of your mind. You don't know anything any other way, yes or no? So, what you need to fix is, you are seeing everything in a mirror of your mind and the mirror is wonky. First fix it. First thing is to make it stable, flat, proper plane mirror so that you see everything the way it is. Does a plane mirror show you everything the way it is? Everything reverse, you know. Then you will have to flip it, that'll take much more skill. Most people can't flip a dosa. Now, to flip the whole universe, the whole life that is reflecting in your mind, to flip it over without shattering it into pieces will take much more, but the first thing is to level out the mirror so that it shows you everything the way it is, not some other way. Right now, everything is seen depending upon how you're identified with something. Every identity has distorted the mirror of your mind and it shows you things in completely different way than the way it is. First thing is, stop talking about things that you do not know. No soul, no Atman, no Paramatman, no God, no divine, no heaven. Talk about something that you know, and then the longing to take the next step will become strong. Otherwise, when you know the geography of the heaven, what is the need to pay attention to anything? When you have a country at this level, where 90% are below the tax level, you think government can do everything? When you have forsaken your humanity, I think you're corrupt. The distress is not something that the governments can handle, it's way beyond that.
First question is from Vikram from Delhi. Vikram says, well, this is about the Kaveri calling. Shouldn't this be the government's job? Why should I pay 42 rupees when I already pay taxes? I don't even live near Chennai.
See, this happened. Shankaran Pillai checked into a Chennai hotel. At 11:30 in the night, he called the reception and screamed, "I'm trapped in this room. Somebody help me, what is this?" The receptionist asked, "What do you mean trapped? It's your room, right?" He said, "Yeah." "What do you mean trapped?" "Well, I see 3 doors. If I open one, it's a bathroom. If I open the other, it's a closet. And the third one says, 'Do not disturb.' I'm trapped." That is the clap I heard just now. That's the trap. It's a democratic nation. This means this is our country. I put my vote, I don't know if Vikram put his vote or not. Probably on that day he was on a picnic. Or maybe he put. I put my vote, you do it. I'm sure if he's an engineering student, he's not paid any taxes yet. He's claiming he's paying taxes. I want you to understand this. In this country, only some 3.2% of the population pays taxes, income tax. Do you know this? Only some 3.2% is paying income tax. Who carries the remaining 96%? Because the remaining 96% are either below the taxable limit or they're tax evaders. One of these. Even if you take the tax evaders, it will only add up to another 3-4%. The remaining 90% is below the taxable limit. When you have a country at this level where 90% are below the tax level, you think government can do everything? What do you think is the taxes they're collecting? They may be charging you 40%, but what do you think is the volume of tax that they're collecting for a nation of 1.4 billion people? And you want them to do everything with that. I'm not pitching for the government. I wanted the government to give subsidies to the farmers, which they have done. You think you have no responsibility for this nation. You think those handful of people who are elected will do everything. No. Well, this is coming because you think they're corrupt. Yes, they are, because they are your representatives. When I'm telling you, over 300,000 farmers have committed suicide, when you say, "Let somebody else do it," I think you're corrupt. Hello? When you have forsaken your humanity, I think you're corrupt. Corruption is not just accepting a bribe. You have forsaken your humanity, you are corrupt. The greatest problem right now in the country is lack of integrity. Not just among politicians, not just among people who hold office, general citizenry is corrupt. If citizenry was not corrupt, it would be very difficult for the politician to be corrupt, because he was just one of you day before yesterday, only now he got elected. The moment he gets elected, his whole clan goes, "Mama, you became minister, what are you giving me?" Are they going and asking or not? Hello? If he doesn't give, "Mama, we supported you. Why are you not supporting our family?" Are they asking or no? So corruption is not in one place, it is across the nation. Let me tell you this, a few years ago, almost 25 years ago, I was in Trichy talking in a high school to 14-year-old boys. I was just asking them, "Okay, what would you like to do after this education?" One guy said, "I want to be RTO." 14-year-old boy. Then I say, "Why? Are you interested in the road traffic systems? You want to do something? What's your interest?" He says, "I'll get a lot of bribe." I thought this is the tragedy of the nation. A 14-year-old boy still a child in some ways. Only thing he's thinking of is, he's thinking how he can get maximum bribe. 14 years of age. So, don't think just one point is corruption. Corruption is all across. We have made this our culture. Young people must change this. It is very important you make this nation a law-abiding nation more than anything else. That you follow the law, convenient or inconvenient, you follow the law. This is important. You must set this culture. About why should I do it? Well, if you are human, you should do it. If you're something else, I'll leave it to you. Because the distress is not something that the governments can handle. It's way beyond that. It's way beyond that. But the governments, you must understand this is not easy to do. We've been on sustained pressure on both these governments. And fortunately, yesterday was a fantastic day for Kaveri calling because both the governments agreed that they will give the necessary subsidy. This is going to cost them a few 100 crores a year, but they're willing to do it. You thinking, why should I give 40 rupees or 42 rupees? Don't give. If you have that kind of a stone for a heart, don't do it. It's not necessary. We will do it. We will do it. So many other human beings still alive in this country and in the world. People are contributing, not just from India, from across the world. People are contributing because there is still humanity in the world.
So at a time like this, there is no nation which is fully prepared to handle a situation like this. The richest nations in the world are trembling under the onslaught of the virus. So definitely, India, for the kind of population and the concentration of population we have, definitely we don't have a medical system and the economics to really provide everything for everybody for months on end. No, that won't be possible. So the only way this can happen is that a cohesive action by the citizens as a part of this, the Prime Minister has given a call at 9 p.m. Everybody should light a lamp or a candle or at least flash your cell phone thing. Please don't do your cell phone, not here. We will put up a big fire show because the element of fire in the Bhuta Shuddhi system of yoga and our ability to stand up as a strong life are very related. If we want to find out whether you're alive or dead, we will check whether it's warm or cold. That means whether the fire is on or gone. Everything that you call as life on this planet is only because of the fire of the sun. A fireball is burning there. Only because of that life has happened. All the other ingredients may be there, it's like cooking. Everything may be there, no fire, no cooking. So life has cooked itself up mainly because of the fire of the sun. The basic energy in the world is just that. So using fire as a way of keeping ourselves well is very much a part of the yogic system. As you can take a water shower, you can also take a fire wash, which we are doing as Klesha Nashana Kriya. It's producing incredible results for people. As a nation, the Prime Minister is requesting us to have a little fire around you, at least for 9 minutes. You don't have to stop at 9 minutes. I am advising every one of you, keep a lamp in your bedroom in a safe distance from you where you sleep and let it burn every night. It'll make a world of difference for you. So otherwise, you must have a powerfully consecrated spaces which is like fire burning all the time. Either this or that, one of the things must be done in every home Always a lamp used to be burning, always in an Indian home. Now unfortunately, because people are seeing it as an act of a particular religion, others don't want light. Otherwise, others don't want to light a lamp because if you light a lamp, you may get converted. This is just stupid. Well, I think some religion may claim water, then don't have shower, don't wash your hands. Because it is part of some religion, before they pray, they wash their hands. So you don't wash your hands because if you do this, you will get converted to that religion. This is just stupid. So every doctor is saying, wash your hands. Does it mean to say he is asking you to convert yourself to Islam or something? Everybody washes their hands, everybody uses fire in their homes. This is most important thing is, apart from what benefit it has, the most important thing is, right now, what decides we successfully get across this situation or not is how cohesively India acts like one person. This is the only solution for us. We don't have enough hospital beds, we don't have enough ICUs, we don't have enough ventilators. If millions of people fall sick tomorrow, we just will have to let them die. That's all the option will be. So let's not take it there, it's very important we all come together, irrespective of your religious beliefs, political ideologies, whatever nonsense you are. Let's do one sensible thing, that we stand together as one nation, because right now, virus is not making any distinction whether you are this religion or that religion, what is your ideology, it doesn't check. It's going at everybody. Started in communist China, now invading capitalist America. You can't stop it. It's not a communist virus. It has no ideology, no religion, it just goes for you. So let us also go for it as one. This is important. We will tell you what we will be doing at the yoga center. Most probably we will also live webcast it, so please watch out and be with us. We'll take that ahead.